Hello and welcome back. I'm Kristen with YOBOgear. Cal and I have finally perfected our Cricut stand setup process, so it was time to update our video tutorial. Yes, this will vary slightly from our original setup video and from your printed assembly instruction. The thing is, it takes a while to learn all the ins and outs of new gear, and that includes gear you've invented yourself. The assembly process I'm about to show you is by far the quickest and most efficient. How quick, you ask? Well, we can set our Cricut stand up in about 4 minutes, quicker if we're working together, but we've had a lot of practice. The first time you set Cricut up, give yourself 20 to 30 minutes to lay everything out and learn the process. We recommend practicing in your basement or backyard rather than waiting until you're at your campsite to try it for the first time. Once you've done it a few times, you'll realize how intuitive the process is, and your setup will get quicker and quicker. We polled our customers in our private Facebook group, and most said their Cricut setup time averages 5 to 10 minutes. So, here we go! When you unpack your Cricut stand, you should have 8 black aluminum poles. 4 of them are ridge poles. The ridge poles do not have our YOBOgear logo on them, nor do they have the silver feet attached to the ends. 2 of these ridge poles will have a long piece of cordage with a titanium carabiner at the end attached, and 2 of the ridge poles will have a short loop of cordage attached. Next, you'll have 4 Cricut legs. We can tell these are the legs because of the aluminum feet installed at the bottom of each pole, as well as the YOBOgear logo. Each of the 4 legs has a very long piece of cordage affixed close to the foot. Additionally, 2 of the legs have a short loop of cordage affixed to them, and the other 2 legs have a longer piece of cordage with an attached carabiner affixed to them. Next, your kit includes 2 silver bend pieces. These are components of the ridge assembly. You also have 2 aluminum hubs, which will hold it all together. So in total, 4 leg poles, 4 ridge poles, 2 bend pieces, and 2 hubs. Now let's get started on assembly. Step 1. Fully extend all of your poles. I also like to unwind the leg cordage as I do this, so I don't have to mess with it once the stand is partway assembled. I've obviously sped up the video here, but usually extending all the poles is the part of the process that takes the longest. Once that's done, I like to organize all my pieces on the ground before I start assembling. I lay my ridge poles and bend pieces on the ground in a diamond shape. Now this is where it's important to pay attention to the cordage on your ridge poles. You're going to put the like poles on the same side of the diamond, meaning the 2 poles with short loops go on the same side, and the 2 poles with the longer cordage and carabiner go on the same side. Ensure that these long pieces of cordage as well as the short loops are all faced in towards the center of the diamond. Then add your bend pieces to the center points of the diamond and the hubs to the narrow points. Also, make sure the carabiners attached to your bend pieces are aimed toward the ground. This will all make sense when we start putting Cricut together. Once you have everything arranged on the ground, start snapping it into place. I attach the ridge poles to each bend piece first, making sure the loops and cordage are facing into the diamond. Ginger, of course, has 0 camera etiquette and stepped in here to steal the spotlight for a second. We'll let her get away with it because she's pretty cute. So now you should have 2 ridge poles attached to each bend piece, and then it's time to attach the hubs. The orientation of your hubs is important, so watch closely. Your hubs have a smooth, flat side, and they have a side with 2 small holes drilled in it. It's very important that the smooth, flat side faces up, and the side with the 2 small holes faces out to the side. Once your hubs are in place, it's time for a key step in making the Cricut stand stable. Step into the center of the diamond, grab the bend pieces, and pop that peak. Here's the sound it should make. Let's watch one more time for good measure. Once you've popped the peak, attach the ridge cord in an X across the diamond. The carabiner should easily reach the loops on the other side. If you fail to crisscross the cordage, your Cricut will not be as sturdy as it should be. Now the ridge assembly is complete. When you lay the entire assembly on the ground after this, it will be obvious whether or not you popped your peak correctly. There should be a good 5+ inches of space between the bend pieces and the ground, and the entire assembly should rock back and forth. Next, it's time to attach the legs. Each side of the Cricut will get one leg with a long piece of cordage attached, and one leg with the short loop of cordage attached. Insert the legs into the holes on the bottom of the hub, then clip the tension cordage between the legs. This will further stabilize the Cricut and keep the legs from falling out of the hub. Then it's time to attach your diagonal cordage. Bring each loop up to the carabiners on your ridge assembly, making sure those carabiners are crisscrossed. Also, take care not to pull your peak downward to reach the loops. Pull your loops up to the carabiners instead. Now it's time for a visual check. Make sure that peak you popped is still there in the ridge assembly, and make sure the legs are angled ever so slightly away from the stand. This means the feet will not be directly underneath the hub, but slightly out to the side. Time to hang your hammock. Cricut is built to fit an 11-foot hammock pretty near perfectly. If your hammock is shorter, you may need to use the extra suspension cordage we include with each Cricut stand. It may also be necessary to wrap your continuous loops around your hammock carabiners a few times until you get the nice taut ridgeline you're looking for. Once you're all set up, it's time to test it out. Always, always, always sit slowly in your hammock, no matter where you're set up. For safety, it's important to check your work by adding your weight gradually, then moving around to check your stability. Once you are certain your setup will hold, it's time to relax. So there you have it. You can see the finer details of Cricut Stand and more setup tips by browsing our Cricut playlist on YouTube. As always, feel free to reach out via email or DM with any questions you may have. Happy hammocking, friends, from Kristen, Cal, and Ginger.